Unlearned Unlimited. What? Unlearned Unlimited. Hey.
Welcome to Unlearned Unlimited. My name is Dr. Sito Narcisse, and we are super excited. We got a banger for you today. We got Dr. Catherine Barnes in the house. Hey, Dr. Barnes.
Hey.
How you doing?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. This is an exciting experience. I feel your energy already. I love it. I love the energy. I love it.
Listen, we're super excited that you're here. We're going to talk to everybody a little bit about you and tell them about the work that you do. There's stuff, I'm going to highlight a few things I know about you, but one thing we always say, the best people that can tell you about themselves is themselves. Dr. Barnes is an educator. I started off as a teacher all the way up through the ranks. And wrote this dope book that we're going to talk about, Sisters, Why You Hate Me, which I think is going to be super interesting. I know that's dropping out on December 24th. We definitely want to talk a little bit about that, but I thought it would be good, we are always trying to find about innovators, right? People who've had different type of experiences to do different things. And in our podcast, Unlearned Unlimited, it's a clash between education and culture, right?
Yes.
And we get all these people that come on all the time. And so we're like, who are the people we could talk to that are, one, fearless, number two, they don't mind saying what's on their mind, and number three, always trying to make sure they can inform the audience and our communities about what's really going on and how we can make the place a much better space as we unlearn some of the craziness that we've had to endure to become unlimited. So I wanted to kind of preset that before we start. I know you're a pioneer in all those spaces. So tell us, Dr. Barnes, a little about yourself, your journey, and not just your degrees. Ladies and gentlemen, she's got enough degrees, right? We need us to know about the Dr. Barnes herself, her journey, who she is. So tell us a little about yourself.
You want Doc B. You don't want Dr. Barnes. You want Doc B.
And I know people sometimes just say, "Hey, Kathy," right?
Yeah,
but I would say, I said, put some respect on her name.
And I'm normally not anal about that until people are disrespectful. So
Listen, understood.
And you understand, right? You understand, and that's part of the journey. And I love the fact that you said don't start with the degrees, because the people behind these microphones are so much more than the things that they've accomplished in terms of earning paper and things to place on your wall.
That's right.
I've done that, of course. But I think for me, if I were to talk about who I am as a person, I would have to say that I am a person who got sick and tired of being sick and tired. So I left. I think that for me, my journey was one.
And when you say you left the K-12 space.
Left the K-12 space.
Okay.
Left the K-12 space. And I will say that for me, who I am as a person, it was really, I never really knew, because I spent so much time performing. And I performed and performed and performed and performed, and I lost who I was as a person. So I had to go back and try to refine and redefine and reintroduce myself to me. I had become the titles, I'd become the job, I'd become those things, and I forgot. And it's almost hard to say this, because I didn't forget that I was a mother. I didn't forget that I was a wife. I didn't forget that I was a friend. But those things end up being things that were kind of ancillary to the work that I had to do. So, moving schools, all that stuff, I can do all of that. But who I am as a person is a person who has reformed and redefined myself based on my experiences. And what that has come out to be is that I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies.
Listen, I'm about to say, you're an introvert? Really?
I am. No, I really am. I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies, and I am a person who is really deeply committed to helping people transform their lives in ways that allows them to live freely and honestly and openly about who they are and where they are, without apology. And I want women to stand up in their spaces. I want people to be heard and seen. And I have become an advocate for that and that kind of work. So when I talk about who I am as a person, like you said, I have the degrees. I can run through all of that. But you can read my bio for that kind of stuff. Who I am is a person that has had to transform. And because I spent too much time performing, to even know who I was, to really know who I was. So as a person now, I'm a leader in the space of healthy love and leadership. That's it. That's it.
Do you know, it's interesting, right? We talk to a lot of different women leaders, right, on the show.
For sure.
And different journeys, different spaces. It always sounds interesting, like there's always this transformation that happens in these type of jobs, right? Because what I always find interesting is like, one, people say, well, you know, we want women leaders, we want this one. And then when they go and do these jobs, right, then they like start critiquing them with these characteristics. And they're like, you know, it's like, you can't have it both ways, right?
Right, for sure. And the hope is that you don't have to live in a space where you got to bounce like that all the time. But the truth is, people say they want that. They expect that until it's uncomfortable. And when it gets hard, then now something's wrong with you. When all you're doing is carrying out the task that you've been assigned.
Isn't it interesting? The reason I find it interesting is because when you think about the education space, it is a woman-dominated profession.
Yes.
Right? I mean, you're talking about, what, 75% plus women that are in the education space. I know people look at just leadership and say, well, there's not enough. And I agree. There's never enough.
Right.
But the question I was saying is like, for you to be in a profession where there's majority dominated by women still in terms of whether it's teachers or those things, but you notice that there's still these complexities that are going on. And even just culturally too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like you see
sure.
this context of women. Like, help us understand what that is like. And, you know, I got to ask, because I got daughters, right? So,
for sure.
Like, I want to be like, girl, listen, I need to train you little girls to be like.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for that question, because the dynamics, that's what made me write the book. Again, that the book now that's releasing, it's 10 years old. And I had to circle back 10 years later because the problem's still there. It's still a horrible problem. So when we start to talk about the dynamics and what's happening with women in leadership, one, we're not supportive of each other. We have been conditioned to think, and it goes way back to, I can take you way back to when that started and how it started. And I'm sure you know, but when we start to think about women who've had to fight for position because we've been conditioned to think there's only space for one. And if it's not you, then who? And it's generally, if it is you, then you're elevated quickly, but you're targeted all along the way. And what I found out for me is I was always either recovering from or preparing for the next attack when I was in those spaces. That's how I lived. And it wasn't because I wasn't doing the job. What I found was that the job wasn't the focus. The job was not the focus. What was the focus is who was doing the job and what kind of internal tension that caused or how that made that other person feel. The job went out of the window. So you could be making the targets and making all the gains and doing everything that you need to do, but there's still a target on your back. And it's not always the man that's trying to get you. And that's the thing that we got to be very real about. The man's not trying to get you. They don't have to. By the time the man got there, you got a whole bullseye on your whole back because you got knives in your back.
So let me frame this a little bit, right? I think about Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? So when you think about Maslow, you got your first level is safety. Right? And you start moving up, right? What I find very interesting around jobs that require these type of like leadership and pressure, safety is always the most riskiest of them all.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And somehow there's always an environment that says if we create this space of competition, right, which is really a dog-eat-dog eat world type thing, then you're going to get this great combustion that's going to have all this in it. I mean, it's chaos, right?
It is.
And now it's funny, like you start hearing me talk about we need to create spaces of collaboration. And like, so, you know, I call like swinging the pendulum, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Whatever people want to swing, whatever. But I would agree with you. I think that there's always this sense of competition or some type of space that people are doing things. And what I can't always wrap my head around is there's enough spaces for everyone.
Yes.
I don't know why everybody
For
thinks like, there's only like 10 companies in the world to work for, or there's only like, you know what I mean? I know you have to move or whatever, but like it's an interesting thing as we talk to a lot of people to watch how their mind goes in different ways around these things. So I can only imagine you as a woman trying to facilitate these spaces, it must have really brought a different space. I mean, that's what I think I'm hearing you saying.
Yeah, it is. It's a hard walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really hard walk because again, the finish line keeps moving.
Mm-hmm.
The job is never clearly defined, and then it comes with a whole lot of expectations that a lot of other people don't have. You're supposed to work harder. You're supposed to work later. You're supposed to not take days off. And then the placement.
So let's just crystallize for the audience.
Okay.
Which jobs are we talking about?
Okay.
Or, so I just want to make sure because they're probably like, what job is she talking about?
Yeah,
That's not a job.
okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
good.
what jobs are you, like when you make this reference, you saying women who are in corporate America, women who are in the education space, I know your background in education, but do you think that's something that's persistent in all spaces where women are trying to develop and lead, or you think it is only in a particular arena?
I think it's in all spaces. I've spoken to women, and I work with women across all fields, not just in education, C-suite leaders across multiple companies. And what I will say to you is that situation, what I just described, it's pervasive. It's everywhere. Everywhere. Everyone is seeing that. Everyone is feeling that pressure. And it's always this hope that you can get into a space and breathe. But you can't. You get into a space and you simply can't breathe. You don't have the space to be able to sit back and say, I'm going to just be comfortable in this glorious experience, or you don't get that opportunity. And it's unfortunate because that is something that is placed on women. I would venture to say, based on the women that I know and the people that I've spoken to, I'd venture to say that it's predominantly women who get put into that space. And a lot of it is things that we've been conditioned to believe from even a little girl. Don't trust women. Don't be careful. Watch the back. Somebody's going to stab you in your back. All of these things. And then to work twice as hard to get half as far. And all of these other things that we've been conditioned to believe, I think is across all spectrums.
And you think that's women specific to being black, white, yellow, green, or just all women, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from?
I think it looks different based on who you are and who you're playing with in the sandbox. But I think it's everybody. Yeah, it's not limited to black women. I think it's women of all colors, all races. It's just how it's done.
In the U.S. economy right now, right?
Yeah.
There's been numbers in the jobs report. There's so many black women, not just black women, just women in general, have been losing jobs all over the place. Right?
Yes.
I won't get into my own belief system.
Right.
Right. Because we're in this whole really cultural, interesting space right now.
Right.
In our society. But I guess the question I asked is with the years of experience you've had and the lived experience, right? Because I think there's lived experience and also there is the other qualified experience people look at.
Right.
If you had to tell a company CEO right now who wants to create a space that is not only where high performing and all that, but also a space where women are valued and want to do X, Y, and Z, tell us what would be the 3 or 4 things that they should, 1, unlearn. Okay?
For sure.
And then 2, to think about in order to make that become a high performing space.
First is that we need to unlearn this whole concept of you have to be a superwoman and do it all by yourself.
Now, this is the woman, or this is the CEO?
The CEO.
Okay, so CEO can be
CEO
a female, a male, or whatever. Okay.
So if it's a male, you got to learn that there more than one. There can be more than one smart person in the room, and that sometimes is hard because how we've been conditioned as leaders. As leaders, you're supposed to have all the answers. We've been conditioned to think you're supposed to have all the answers. You can't show weakness. You have to have this hard exterior, and then you have to have this armor around you to protect yourself. And what we found is that you actually need you need the collaboration of your team. You need the collective body. We were designed and made to live in community, and that doesn't go away when you walk into your workspace. So when you do that, I would say the first thing is to realize that if you hired well, you got smart people on your team. So you don't have to do it all. The next thing would be for you to think about what relationships are you fostering and how are you fostering those relationships? What are you building? What are you doing to build trust so that people know that they can trust you and so that you can trust people? And we got to get into a space where we start to talk about what are some little nuggets that I can drop so that I can build that trust and empower the people around me.
So for them to unlearn, they'd have to unlearn how to make sure that they are able to build trust. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
So they would have to unlearn the fact that trust isn't visible. It is
Trust
impossible.
isn't visible. Okay.
Trust isn't visible. Trust isn't possible. And they would have to, so that's something you definitely have to get rid of, is the fact that it's not possible in your space. It is possible. You just have to be, you just can't, it's not blanket and it is earned, but it's possible. So you have to find ways to empower people. The next would be the next one is you have to find ways to empower people and let you know that you value their input. And that's through very strong communication concepts that come in a framework. It really helps.
Is that value different from how you would value a male versus a female? You think those value, how you do that is different, or you think it's the same? And the reason I'm asking, and I know it's crazy. Listen,
no, it's not crazy.
You know me. I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna say what folks want to say.
Yeah.
What they don't say. Right.
Go for it.
I've sat in spaces where we would have these type of conversations, and people are like, well, should I do it different for this person? For that? Like they're literally, and these are like people running stuff, like multi-million-dollar companies, right?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
you know, and people think, well, it's just about making the money. It's not, because you got to run an organization, you got to manage people, you got to make sure they can perform. So like, I guess the question I'm asking is like, if you could give me some details, like, should it be different how they talk to one versus another, or should they create an environment? Like, those are the technical things that people don't know,
right?
That they should be asking those questions, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be dependent on the environment and in the culture that you have within your environment. Okay. So if you are, I do think that every person is an individual, and you have to figure out how do you manage that, but you have to have consistency in your communication, and that consistency is what builds trust.
Okay.
So you have to be able, I have to be able to count on that what you say is accurate, and that I can run with my vision based on what you said. So when we start to talk about differences between men and women, I think it should be even more granular than that. I think it should be differences based on the needs of the people that you're working with, and how you're serving them, and how you want them to serve you and best serve your company. So you have to be intentional. That's not something that just happens. You can't just say, I'm going to write a man policy and a woman policy, or I'm going to just write a communication policy.
Yeah, I don't even think you could actually do that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, you're not even going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, but we're so conditioned that we can put something on paper and push it out to people and say, now we've solved this problem.
Yeah.
When that's not solving the problem.
Yeah. to
you're going to have to be able to be in tune enough and intentional, and that you got to unlearn the fact that you can't, that you have to unlearn the fact that people are blankets. You can throw a blanket over people, and you can do a cookie cutter size plan, and that it's going to work for every person. It's not going to work. It hasn't worked ever. We've made ourselves think that, but then that's why we're losing people in droves too, because of that very same thing. So yes, I don't think that we have to talk about it as much as male versus female. I think we have to talk about intentionality around the people that are in front of you, whoever they happen to be.
And what do you think in terms of, all right, so I think you gave me two, right? You said communication, they got to make it individualized to the person. What else? What's the third one?
The third one would be being very sincere in your relationships. So when I talk about...
what does that mean?
So people have to believe that you're honest and true. And you have to be that. You can't just pretend to be that, because when you do something and then you walk away and you say something different to someone else, whether you want to know it or not, whether you believe it or not, one, you're never going to be confidential. There's never going to be confidential. Somebody's going to talk about what you said to them.
I tell people all the time. When I hear that, like, don't worry, you're the only one that's... listen, and somebody's got a best friend that's a best friend of a best friend.
Exactly.
I mean,
don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nobody. Let me give you...
I'm going to just tell you this little tea, but don't tell nobody. Once it comes out of your mouth, it's no longer a secret.
Right.
So,
and if you're at the top of the organization, you move planets. Like, you don't know what goes on. You say whatever, it starts move.
Exactly. And then you get the warped version that has gone through about 27 iterations to come back. By the time you get it back, you're like, that's not even what I said. But now 40% of your people are pissed off because you've taken them down this road.
Right.
That it's not even a road you were traveling.
Yeah.
But so when I say that, you have to decide on your messaging early and be consistent in your messaging, because messaging is important and it shouldn't change based on the person that's standing in front of you. When it does, then you're not trustworthy as a leader. You're not. So you have to be able to build a foundation where your communication is something that people can trust and that they believe that what you say is the best that you know in that very moment. And although things may change, then you have to come back and say, hey, this is what I knew at this time. I got more information. Now it's this. Yeah. And what we do as leaders often is we miss that second part of it. It's okay for you to make a mistake. Yeah. It's okay for you to make a mistake. If you tell us you made it, just say, hey, that was my bad. I messed up. That wasn't what I thought it was. Now let's do this.
Most humans don't like doing that.
Right. Well, not at all.
We're going to double down,
and that's what happens. We double down, and then people are like, now you know you learned. Yeah. Now, okay,
they won't tell you that. Right. They'll tell the person next to you.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, they're not going to say it to you, but y'all know he lied.
Right.
Y'all know he lied, right? So you end up in that space. So you don't want to do that. Again, I would just say relationally, you have to care about, even if it takes you a moment for you to, you're not going to know the first and last name of everybody's child and all this other stuff. You're not going to make everybody's baseball games. As a leader, I decided at one point everybody got the same gift for everything. So whatever it was, so nobody felt like one gift was better than the other gift, or, she got me Huggies and got you Pampers when it was whatever, whatever it is. When I had a baby, everybody got the same thing for everything. And then the personalization came in the conversation. Yeah. Not necessarily in the things that you do. And you have to care. You have to care. And it has to be genuine enough that people can feel it, more so than just hearing you say it. Yeah. Everybody knows that your secretary signed that card and sent it out. Yeah. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows
and they
that.
still do it.
Right.
Waste of resources.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I'll just send an email to everybody. Exactly. We're doing a video.
Exactly. Everybody knows you did that. Yeah. Everybody knows you have no idea. If I come up to you and say, thank you so much for sending the flowers, you're like, you're welcome. Yeah. What kind of flowers did I send? It's that kind of thing. And it doesn't mean that you can't deploy your staff in that way. Yeah. But you got to be genuine. You got to say, I'm going to have for me, it was I'm going to have Miss Bailey send these flowers to you because I know she picks out the best flowers.
Yeah, that's right.
But I want you to know I'm thinking about you during this tough time.
So all right. So we look. I think we covered this. No, we look like we covered three, right? Four. So we have four of them, right? For the CEO. And the first question is around CEOs. We're trying to create an environment. Then I'm going to ask you. My next unlearn is for women specifically. Yes. That are navigating. So what's the fourth? What's the fourth thing for the CEO? This is the last one
for the women.
No, this was for the CEO who want to create an environment for women to be successful in. You talked about visibility, be authentic, right? All those pieces. So what's the last recommendation to unlearn?
I would definitely say you have got to unlearn this premise of everybody's out to get you. That everybody's out to get you premise keeps you tight.
Do you know how, now I'm in a whole different space doing my own organizational stuff. So I'm not I call it the matrix.
Yeah.
The matrix.
Yeah, the matrix. Yeah, for sure.
But what I think is interesting, I did not know how many people have that mindset in this space. So I would ask myself like, was I thinking like that one time? Like, because, you work with so many people in so many spaces. And my complexity was like, I always used to feel like, dang, I don't feel like nobody's coming to get me. So is something wrong with me? Like, because your own paranoia, can really, in my opinion, decrease your performance.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well, paranoia does decrease your performance. You can't perform when you think everything around you is moving. Yeah, you can't stand steady.
Where every feedback you get is
as a personal attack,
right? You got to get better, right?
Yes.
It's something. So
so we have to unlearn that as well. That feedback is an attack. Yeah, that is something that you definitely have to, and you have to open yourself up if you truly want to grow. you have blind spots.
Yeah.
We all have blind spots.
Wait, so Out to Get Me, is that for the CEO as they're creating their environment? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, they have to realize that everyone's not out to get you.
Yeah.
There are people who are out to get you,
Yeah.
but you need to know the difference.
Yeah.
And once you know the difference, then it makes it easier for you to navigate. I'm very happy with people that just blatantly say, I don't rock with you. I don't like you. This is not the way that I move. This is not the way. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because now I know where you are. It's the ones who pretend they do
Yeah.
and don't that cause you the issues.
So let's review the 4 real quick.
Okay.
So I want you just to get back, the 4 that you said are things that CEOs, whether you're a man or woman, trying to create an environment that you should make sure your folks are able to unlearn as you're trying to develop this space for women's success in the company is one is create a space of authenticity. That's what I heard, right? Mm-hmm. 2, make sure clear communication.
Clear communication.
Right.
And consistent.
Clear
and consistent communication.
The third one I had is, this mindset of everyone's out to get me.
Yes.
Right. And what was the 4th?
The 4th one, I think we started with that one, which was around building authentic relationships.
Building authentic relationships.
You got to build authentic relationships. That doesn't mean you have to be close to everyone.
Yeah.
And everybody's not your best friend. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that you have to know your people well enough to know when you're hurting them and when they're hurting you.
All right. So now let's be more specific.
All right.
Now, this is for the women out there, right? Which may be controversial.
Yes.
From Dr. Bond's mouth, right?
Yes,
So
let's get it.
So what is the advice to women that they need to unlearn, right, in terms of their pathway of success that you would say?
Women are naturally nurturing and caring in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. We have learned that being our authentic selves is problematic. So they have to unlearn the fact that being your authentic self is problematic.
Well, define what that means, right? Because
Okay.
I know in this world, somebody could be like, well, what does that mean? Does that mean how I do my hair? Does that mean how I dress? Because I'm going to tell you, I sat in rooms, I won't mention names. You don't have to worry. Those of you who are going to be scared what I'm going to say.
Right.
But I've been in rooms, I'll never forget this. So I've worked in a lot of places, right? Especially in this whole K-12 space, where I recall I was on interview panels I was only male, a couple of women, and they were women interviews come in.
Oof.
And all they would talk about was not about the woman's performance, it was about what they wore.
Is the hair, the dress, the shoes,
I mean, it was
all of it.
crazy.
All of it. All of it.
And
All of it.
there could be someone that did a good interview or someone that talked about it. But if they weren't dressed a certain way,
Right.
and they would miss the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I would sit down, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit younger, so I'm trying to navigate myself, right? I'm
Right.
like, should I say? So I'd be like,
Yes.
I don't think that person was that bad,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
but did you see how she's dressed?
Right.
What's wrong with how she's dressed?
Right.
Like, she didn't walk in an interview naked. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, what's going on?
Right. That is so, oh my gosh. So one of the things that I talk about in the book is the mirror effect. And when people walk into a room, anytime they walk into a room, you're going to either see what you've always wanted to be, or you're going to see something that motivates you. And if it's not one of those things, one road is going to take you down this road where you are attacking or whatever. And that person that came in that was like, look at how she's dressed, she may have had the best answers in the world. But you can't get past the exterior because that's where you're stuck.
Yeah.
You're stuck on exterior.
Yeah.
So this person could have come in and changed the entire organization for you, but you're stuck on it. You're stuck on the things that you can very easily coach and help address.
Yeah.
But you don't want to do that. You'd rather not put the time and energy into it.
And I'm gonna tell you something I think that was really interesting, Doc. And I say this like not to be controversial, right? I'm a typical black kid that grew up in New York, seeing a whole lot of crazy, right? Like, I used to watch people try to group this as a race thing, whatever. I tell people it's a human thing.
It's a human thing.
I have seen, it don't matter what race the people were, right? Or no matter what socioeconomic. I mean, they would be looking for something. One of my mentors told me this a long time ago, which I'm very grateful for. Like, she was probably one of the best mentors I had because she was really, sometimes you meet some tough folks. I used to have to swallow some hard things from her, but it helped me. I was like, damn, she was right.
Right, for
she
sure.
was like, when you walk through a door, people are looking for what's wrong with you, before what's right with you.
Absolutely.
And I'd be like, no.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
went to the top schools and I've got the top grades. And over the years, she was 100% right. And the reason I bring this up is because I had to learn how to navigate in spaces to almost make people feel like I have to, help you disengage your armor before I can engage you, right? And so they could see how I look or how my appearance or, I mean, so it's really interesting, right? And people try to corner that to only say, well, it's minority men or black men or Latino men, whatever that group is.
Right.
But I've learned that is not true.
It's not
I've learned
true.
it could be anybody.
It's anyone.
That anyone feels that is different from them.
Right.
Or whatever
Right.
they perceive to be as different or unacceptable. If that makes sense.
And-
Am I right on that?
And different often is unacceptable.
That's right.
So when you hear different, sometimes just the fact that you're different is unacceptable. I had one person who she really came for me really hard in a leadership space, and it was just that I wasn't from there until she realized I was from there. I was actually more from there than you are, but and the fact that I didn't look like her. I didn't, in her mind, I had to have walked her road to be valuable. And that wasn't the case. I didn't have to walk your road. I didn't have to walk the same road you walked to have the same experiences you had. And that's where people mess up. They often think that that's what if you didn't walk down, you didn't come down this path, then you're not worthy. But what you said a moment ago about people it's easier for them to see what's wrong with you than what's right with you. We gravitate to that even in social media and everything now. It's like if I can send something positive that's uplifting and you'll scroll through it, you'll look at it. But if it's something that's like somebody's tearing up something or something, you want to watch the whole thing. Oh, yeah,
because this society, we love the dirt.
Right. And if we don't have any, we'll make it up. We'll make it up. We're going to make up some dirt.
That's right.
With that, I would say no, it's not one. It's not one race. It's not men. It's not black men that get that. Or it's not black women that do that. It's it's women and men. Period. It's people. Period.
It's a human nature. Yeah,
it is.
So for women, unlearn women. So women need to unlearn in these spaces to this whole notion about being authentic, right?
Yes.
And then what else they need to unlearn? Being authentic is bad.
Yeah, they need to unlearn that being authentic is bad because being authentic is who you are, and you can't. Nobody can be you better than you.
That's right.
Nobody can be you better than you, and that's what you're designed to be, you. Yeah. So whenever you step outside of that, now you're performing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell somebody like there are some spaces that are not gonna accept you, and you gotta be okay with that.
And yes.
And I had to learn that. I mean, I've learned that over time. I remember, doing this job. I did pretty decent and this person was like, "Yo, you're just not one of us." I'm sitting there like, what does that mean? You know? And I learned, and I had to become okay. Like, listen, in some places, they're just not going to accept you.
Right.
And you got to be okay with that, and you breathe and you move on. Right. And so, because the world is big, right? And so, what else would you say? Be authentic. What else? What's the second thing? We have 4 things for women.
Yeah, to unlearn, you have to unlearn that everything is a competition.
Everything is a competition.
Yeah, everything is not a competition. I'm not fighting with you. I'm not in competition with you. And if we understand our purpose and what we're actually designed to do, everybody's not designed to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you're competing with people that's not even doing the same thing that you're doing. You're just in competition for the sake of competition.
And you see that as normalized in organizations.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is normalized. And what will happen is you can see it in something as simple as you're on this floor and I'm on this floor, and we're competing for.
Or I'm closer sitting to the boss.
Right, exactly. Like that's something you want to do anyway. Like, why do you even want to do that? But so when you're sitting there and you're in those situations, that's one that you definitely have to unlearn.
All right, so you got 2 more to go. Be authentic. Being authentic is not bad. You got to unlearn that. Everything is not a competition, right? What else? What are the other 2 things for women?
Another for women is to believe that relationships matter. You have to get off of this wheel of I don't need nobody, I don't want nobody, I can do it by myself. You have to unlearn that that independence is a calling card, that independence is something that gives you some sort of leg up. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Listen, I'm going to bring this up. I won't say who the family member is, right? Because they watch our show. So.
I got you.
But I told a family member, I said, listen, being by yourself sucks.
Right,
you know
right, exactly.
Don't let nobody convince you of that, right?
Right.
I don't care now how you define what that person should be, but this whole notion of like, I walk alone, and that's a lie.
Yeah,
like
that's garbage.
You
It's
need
complete.
human connection,
Yeah,
right?
that's crazy.
However you define human connection, I'm gonna let you define that.
Right, exactly.
You need human connection.
Well, there is some defining we need to do because you just lost me. You lost me. I got it. I'm like, whoa, wait, no.
Listen,
I'm not judgmental. I'm just talking about for me.
Yeah, right. You have to define that what that is.
Yes,
but like,
for sure.
But you know, this whole notion. I always talk about the technology space. My biggest fear about technology is about the new tech stuff that's coming out. Is the human connection.
Yeah,
right.
For
kids, like I tell you, like a kid, like you still gotta call somebody and you still gotta ask a question. Like just texting me all day, like I need to know if you breathing today.
Exactly,
you know what I'm saying?
exactly, for sure.
Your technology text is not going to tell me that, right? Like, it tells me you can type,
right?
But I still need to know, like, I got to see your face.
And it tells me that somebody can type. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can type. Somebody can type. So it doesn't even mean it's you. I don't know who that is, but somebody behind that keyboard is having at it. I get it. I get it.
Okay, so all right, we got believe that relationships matter, right?
Right.
All right, so we got 3 in there. Be authentic. Being authentic is not bad. Everything is not a competition, and believe that relationships matter, right?
Right.
What's your last one?
Right. The last one I would say is that you're worthy. You belong in the space, and you don't have to keep proving that every day. You can get off the hamster wheel. You have a purpose. And as long as you're walking in it, you're going to be fine. You're worthy to be in that space. And this imposter syndrome thing that's beating so many of us down, I'm done. I'm over it. Like I'm calling people out. Like, no, that's imposter syndrome, sis. Come on up out of that. That's not a thing. Because we have been, again, conditioned to believe that we don't belong in a lot of these spaces. And if you are at that table, you've deserved to be there.
Do you think, Dr. Barnes, a lot of these things have been co-constructed in children from their family life, or is it constructed through schooling? Like, what is the thing that got them to be this way? Because a lot of this, when you think about how people are or what they become, right? A lot of that socialization or their upbringing is always influenced in really 2 to 3 spaces, right? One is the family that they come from,
right?
Whatever the
dynamics,
the verbal and nonverbal rules you learn, right?
Right.
Or it is the degrees they get around the people that they're from, right? Or whatever learning that they had,
right?
Or it could be their environments, right? And when I talk about environments, I'm talking like the interaction or everyday environments, right? That's why I'm a big believer of like, birds in the feather flock together. Yeah. Like, I can't remember the brother that says this all the time, but he says like, if there's 4, he says if you hang out with 4 broke people, you're gonna be the 5th one.
You're gonna be the 5th broke person.
If you four folks who ain't doing something, you're gonna be the 5th. Like
that's right.
It's an environment thing, right? I know people may get upset about that, but the question is like, if you're not trying to uplift your folks to be there with you, and you're just contributing to the madness, right? Then you become that environment. So I guess my question is belonging in that space. To go back to that part. Where do you think is the root cause of that, right?
Yeah.
Is it growing up, family, environment? And how come it is taking us years and years to be able to deconstruct that? Because that is not like a new theory, but we keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Right. So I think it's a combination. I think it's ands and not ors. I think that we learn very early on how to navigate this world. I think about, like, for so many of us, we stayed in careers for 30 years because you go to work, you get your job, and you work on that job until it's time for you to retire, and then you go home and you do a little piddling around in your job. Piddling, that's my grandmother's word. Piddling around in your yard, and then you die. Yeah. And that's been the cycle. And then the places that we've been able to step into outside of those traditional roles that we may have played. And it doesn't necessarily mean you got the good job. You just, some of us got a job. or whatever it is. But whatever it was, we've been conditioned to believe that there's a certain path that you take. And when you take that path, then at the end of it, there's some sort of major reward. And
or safety.
Or safety. Well, that is the reward, that you have the safety of knowing you're going to be okay, which goes back to the basic needs. People need to feel safe. But I think too, the environments that you live in, they change what that road looks like, but it's still a road. So I mean, I know people who have 3 or 4 generations of people that are in the same projects. They live 1, 2, mama upstairs, grandmama upstairs, the cousins downstairs. And the goal is to get out of one situation and move into the next apartment or get your next whatever. So I think a lot of it is early conditioning, and we have to break those cycles ourselves, which is hard when this is what you live every day. We see it all the time. So I think when we start to talk about what that looks like and how does it happen, and we're in this, we're like cattle when we come out. I mean, we're like cattle when we come out, and and everything that beats you and puts you in line, it makes you walk this path. And some people are hit harder with things. Some people are pushed outside, but when you're pushed outside, then you're the outlier.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody inside telling you, come back in, come back in, come back in. And it's up to you once you get pushed outside to either run off and say, no, I'm not coming back in, or you easily get back into this pattern that we've been conditioned to do. But life is that thing that's beating you back into this straight line. And you can either decide that you're not going to do that and you're going to do something different and face whatever those consequences are, or you're going to get back in line and follow what we've been conditioned to do.
So let's talk a little bit about this unlimited place, right? I want to get to talk a little bit about just some solutions from your perspective.
Yeah. Sure.
And then go into a little bit more about your book, right? Sisters, Why You Hate Me, right?
Yes.
To understand a little bit about that. So if we had to help folks from a solution-oriented space, right? You understood, you gave 4 spaces that if you're a CEO trying to build a space, what you need to think about. You talk about authenticity, communication, what else did you have in there? Be careful about out to get me, and all those components. And then on the unlearning from the women's side, you talked about be authentic. Being authentic is not a bad thing. Like, embrace yourself in that space.
That's your superpower.
Right, that's right. Everything is not a competition. Believe that relationships matter. You're worthy to be there, right? Let's talk a little bit about, like, being unlimited is about the solutions, right? So what would you say? And I know you talk about that a little bit through your books and your stuff. Like, what would you say is like what you need to co-construct to create a space for you to become successful at overcoming these things? Like, I don't know how to even say this, but it's like, let me frame it this way.
Okay.
I believe that everything happens by design, right? If you create a design for it, you get what you get, right? So my co-host always says, Tatiana says, you're getting these results because it is the design, right? So schools are designed to give you exactly what they give you. I don't know why everybody's mad. Because it's doing exactly what it was designed.
That's how it was set up.
If they've changed the design, right? I think human behavior is the same way, right? And so you hear all these people talk about X, Y, and Z. These issues that you're talking about are not new issues, right?
They're not.
So now let's create a design, right, that we can say, hey, if you follow this pathway, you will automatically make sure it's not just you are in a better space, but your daughter's daughters, kids, kids, and all that. What would that be?
I'll start by saying this. You'll never fix what you won't face. So the first thing you have to do is you got to be honest with yourself that you're in a space. And it's mindset work. So,
but most people are told, don't let them see you sweat. Don't show people like. So is that like it's your own self discovery privately? I would say, because you can't show everybody that you.
Well, here's the thing: you can start privately if you need to, but again, we're right back in the situation where that's what's kept us in bondage for so long. Is that we have, even when we start thinking about mental health and we start talking about those things, we've been afraid to say what's hurting. Yeah, we've been afraid, and we don't have the language for it.
Yeah.
So the first thing is to unlearn And let's start looking at the solutions about you got to be real. The worst person you can tell a lie to is you. And if you start to believe that there's nothing wrong with me and the whole world around me is wrong, something's wrong. Let me tell you, that's a clue. That's a clue. So
yeah, my missus would say to me, you got to take some accountability.
Yeah, exactly. You got to take some accountability and some ownership. And it doesn't mean blame. And see, that's where we get caught up. Accountability and blame are not the same thing.
Yeah,
and we've melted those things together. So now we feel like it's one big pot of coffee. It's not. I want you to be clear. You can take accountability and not be to blame for the situation that you're in. But you are responsible for coming out of it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that unless you're true with yourself.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing is like I said, you'll never fix what you won't face. You got to spend the time really digging deep if you want solutions. And that's why I say I work with people who really and truly are hungry and ready.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you now, I'm not your girl if you're not ready.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to make this shift and ready to make the change, I'm telling you now, I'm not your girl. Because I don't have the time and the energy to pour into repeating cycles. Where I want to put my energy and where I want you to put your energy is being honest and authentic so that you can say, you know what, I do need to work on this. I know I had to find out, I had to say it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm successful. Everything the world says you're supposed to have, everything everybody felt like was the answer. But if you don't feel it inside, that's why you stay on a hamster wheel. Your inside's got to match your outside. Your suit can be fly.
Trying to validate what other people
have to determine is your success.
Yeah.
Exactly. They've defined it for you. They've defined it for you, and now you spend your time validating that. And what you end up doing is you end up trying to prove yourself to people who've already committed to their view of you. Yeah. They've already committed to it. So instead of you putting your energy into spaces where you can make a difference, you're putting your energy in the spaces trying to prove something to people that you don't even respect.
Yeah.
You don't even value. Ask yourself, why are you doing that? And if you're doing that, then let's take some time to actually walk that back and find out where it came from.
Yeah.
And then how to uproot that so that you can start seeing yourself and seeing the people around you a little bit differently. And again, a lot of times we get caught up because we learn bad things from good people. And when we learn bad things from good people, what happens is we are afraid to let that thing go because we feel like we're somehow betraying the good person that taught you that thing. Your mom could have taught you a lot of great things, and she may be a wonderful woman, but it doesn't fit you in this season. So because it doesn't, that doesn't mean you're letting mom go, but you got to let that thing go that's holding you back because it doesn't fit you in this season. It doesn't fit you where you are right now.
And you believe that is something that happens more to women than men?
I will say I've studied it in women, and I've seen it more in women, but it could be simply because I'm looking at it in women.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I do see it in men. It just manifests itself a little bit differently. Yeah, it manifests itself differently. With women, it manifests themselves in the word hate. They end up being attacking other people or withdrawing into themselves and living in this space of uneasiness.
I bring up a lot of this stuff because, we always talk about perception and reality with numbers.
Right.
Here is the reality, whether people like to hear this or not.
Right.
Is America now is in a place where there are more women that are becoming educated than men.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, it's a fact. I don't know, so if you don't start dealing with these issues and start to figure out ways to co-collaborate, create environments where you get them to unlearn. And I don't want to make it sound like but get people to unlearn these bad habits or these things.
Right.
Then you co-construct an environment, I think, that is not good, right? And I think that goes for both male and female.
It perpetuates the issue.
One of the things I am not a fan of is whenever a gender makes a mistake, a race makes a mistake, or whatever the case, everybody's like, oh, they messed it up for everybody.
Right,
what I mean? I'm not going to mention names.
Right. No, you don't have to.
And it's like, and you're sitting there and you're like, oh, but I'll be like, well, it's so much more complicated than that, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I think we have told ourselves these narratives for so long, but you see it permeated in school systems, you see it permeated in communities, environments, you see it permeate in a lot of things, and then you see it permeate even in the business world, right?
It's definitely, it's in every arena.
Yeah, and so, and even in politics too, right?
So,
So
And at any socioeconomic level.
That's correct. And I think,
let's be clear.
I always to people like, well, it's different if you're poor versus I'm telling you, like I always tell a friend of mine the other, like, yo, people got money, got the same problem people with poor. Now they may get to pay for something.
Exactly.
But they got problem with relationships.
Exactly.
They got problem with family members. They got problem with,
all
it's
of it.
like it's just like we are always looking for this dichotomy of who's better or not.
Right.
Or and that's our own creation.
Yes, we're doing that. We do that.
Yeah.
We make that up.
Yeah.
It's made up.
Yeah.
It's not even a real construct. We make it up.
Yeah, and that drives, I think, into whether kids can't learn or different things. So I can go down this whole road. So
yeah, for
so
sure.
Let's
sure.
So two more things. I just want to make sure we got everything. So in terms of solutions and unlimited, because I really want to get to your book. I just ask you a few things about the book. When you think about this whole unlimited piece and solutions, in order for it to get women's mindset from your perspective into this space, I hear you saying things like, there are certain things that they have to be able to overcome in terms of not allowing to get into their mindsets in order to belonging in whatever job, whatever they do for their own accomplishments. Am I framing that correctly?
Yeah, pretty much, yes.
Okay. You wrote this book, Sister, Why You Hate Me, right?
Yes.
So two things. One, why'd you write the book? Now, the title already is controversial, right?
It is.
And they're going to be, I don't want to be the beautiful thing about being on a podcast, you can say what you want to say.
You say what you want to say.
They're going to be like, who wrote this? Is this a sister that wrote it?
Right, exactly.
It's like, she black, Latino, and Asian sister, who is, like,
Exactly.
so why that title, for one? And then number two, like, what's the message that you want to get out? And if you had to frame the premise, what would that be?
So thank you for that question. So if you take a second and listen, if you look at the cover of the book, I made sure that this was a cover that has a diverse group of women on it. Mm-hmm. Sister is any woman. We
in our culture, we don't say that, but it's the truth.
Right, it's any woman. But I will tell you that and as you go through the book, you'll see that there are different dynamics that are pointed out in there that you see in different types of women. So again, it's how you play the game. The game doesn't change. It's just the rules that you play by. Okay. And I think what we see in some classes, and you just said, or in some groups of people, let me say that, some groups of people is you may see it played out one way here, and it's the same thing. It's just played out in a different way. So over here, I may not be able to not give you a promotion. I may not be able to not give you access to information, but I can not invite you to the party, or not include you in the group text. I can do that over here, but what that translates into at a different level may be, I see your name, I know you're qualified, but I just don't like the way you dress. So I'm not going to give you won't get an opportunity. It's the same game. Yeah. It's just played at different levels depending on where you're sitting, what you're doing. So I think for me, if I had to say anything about that, I would say that this book came from a place of brokenness for me. I have been hurt. There are more knives in my back from women than there are from anybody else. And it's unfortunate. And you hear women say, I just don't fool with women. I'd rather have men friends or whatever. You hear all of that, and that's, again, part of our conditioning. But the question I ask people is, why is that? And then why can't you be the person to impact your circle? And you change. I'm not asking you to change the world. I'm asking you to change those people that's right there in your circle. Don't allow certain things to be acceptable with you anymore. I tell a story in the book about we had gone to lunch with some friends of ours, and one of the ladies at the table, she started, the person that she started attacking, so I'm not going to say the name, but she started attacking this other lady that walked in and just saying stuff. And one of I'll use Carlene's name because Carlene is the one that stopped it. Carlene Smith said, you know what, I know that lady. That's my friend. And I'm not going to let you talk about it. You need to tell her something because I can get her over here if you need to tell her something. If we took more time to do things like that and correct our spaces, then we would start setting a new standard. And you start setting a new standard in all of the places where you walk and you talk, then we will start creating a community of people who understand that we may not get you all, but over here, you're not going to be able to do that. And it's when we start to talk about kind of the premise of the book, it's called Ending the Cycle of Sister to Sister Destruction, because we destroy each other, and our collective power is our superpower. Our collective voice is our superpower.
Do you think, Doc, that women destroy women more than men destroy women?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let me tell you why.
And I'm going to bring this up because in a lot of the research, it actually shows that pattern not only with gender but with race, with a lot of even socioeconomics, right? Like I think people don't like people really believe. Like I always hear folks say, like, you know, people don't want to hear this, but like crime, right? If you look at who kills blacks the most, other blacks. Who kills Latinos the most? Latinos. Whites, you know, because the country's very segregated that way.
Right.
If you look at gender that falls in, like, it's not this like, and what's interesting is, but that's not the narratives, right?
Right.
Because I always tell people there's perception,
right,
and then there's reality, right, with data, right?
Exactly. So if you look at numbers, though, what you'll see is that this is something that is happening. It's having a great impact in the way that we interact, in the way that we lead, in the way that we do things. It was unheard of to get, people are still talking about how incredible it was to send out a blast across organizations and say, we need all of the black women in all these organizations to be on a call at one particular time on one particular night as we kicked off some work that the black community was coming together to do. And when that happened, everybody was like, wait, all we really need to do is pause and actually come together and have a discussion about what we're trying to do. And then, but you've seen that happen one time. Why is it so hard to continue to do that? It's hard because then we go back into these norms, these social norms that we have accepted to be truth, and they're not true. They're not true. When you get people in community and you start working in that way, then you see that we can move things forward. It doesn't necessarily, and it's women, period. It's men, period. It's people, period. But when we start to talk about how do we make that happen, how do we create that, it has to be intentional. We have to say, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to reach out to the sister and have her help me do it too. And we got to stop thinking that it can be more than one pretty girl at the party. So understand that. It can be more than one smart girl at the table. And we get so caught up in fighting for our spot that we forget that it's open chairs here. So we're like...
So I mean, you know, I have heard this argument in a lot of places, and I don't know... I at least from how I always try to analyze is what you watch is always this self-confidence factor, right, to people, right? And I bring this up because one of the concerns I always have is I want my daughters to have so much confidence that no matter what, as a dad, I want to protect you from everything, but I'm not going to be with you all the time, right? So I'd like to see you be strong enough when these things come to you that you can be able to manage or deal with it. And I don't know, like in the K-12 education space, I always believe that there's two types of learning. There's a learning you learn in school, you learn at home, you learn in environment, you learn whatever facet of your community is. But the question is, you got to figure out how you make them strong, because those things impact them from having relationships, from how to engage with people, all that. You know, I always say myself, like, I know I'm a certain way because how I grew up, or what I thought was the most important, or you know, I mean, I learned hard lessons in life, right? For sure. But you know, I was like, wait a minute, but the same way we learn in the K-12 space, or those who run companies, like everything happened by design, there's gotta be a way you can create a system that by design the success happen, right? And so I think if you had to look at your book and I said to you, who are the types of people you think that your book would tremendously benefit in terms of, I know all women should take a look and read this book, right? And men too, if they want to learn that, because I don't want to make it just a woman thing, but but men
too. Men need to read it so they can understand.
Right. So I was going to say, when you think about the profile, what would you say is like, if you are in this, and this book is really informative for you, who would that? How would you describe those characteristics?
If you are if you're a person who is interacting with women with any normalcy or any frequency, you need to understand this book. You need to understand these dynamics. You see it in organizations. I'm thinking about sororities. I'm thinking about other friendship organizations, other organizations that are out there. But I'm also thinking about your young girls who need some direction early and need to have something pulling them. Like we talked about that cow that runs off to the side. Mm-hmm. You have something pulling them back in and saying, you know what, or joining their hands and running with them. Mm-hmm. And saying, let me tell you what this looks like when you're doing this well. Mm-hmm. And instead of saying, yeah, you're right, girl. Don't nobody like you. Don't nobody, they just nasty like that. Instead of going down that road, someone's saying, you know what, but I care about you.
Right.
So just because this person doesn't, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or that doesn't mean that you're not okay. That's their opinion, and they're entitled to that.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to disprove their thoughts or disprove their opinions. What we're trying to do is walk our road and say that this is where we are and this is how we feel about the position that we're standing in.
Well, Dr. Barnes, we appreciate you coming on the Unlearned Unlimited podcast. Yes. We're super excited. If you want to go catch Dr. Barnes' book, we'll have a QR code set up. Put it under the post. Make sure you check out her book, Sister, Why You Hate Me. Yeah. Dr. Barnes gave a whole lot around how to unlearn, not only for women, but also for CEOs of companies who are trying to create opportunity and space for women. It's really important. I know these are discussions that people always find complex and tough to talk about, but we're the Unlearned Unlimited podcast. We don't care about that. We talk about the stuff. So we always talk about the clash between education and culture. If you like our show, please make sure you share, like, subscribe. We're on all social media platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're on there. You'll see clips of the show. Make sure that you share amongst your group. If you want to contribute, please make sure you do contributions to our show. We're super excited about that. We think that this book is really cool, and also that it's really informative about the great work that's going on out there. So please make sure, Dr. Barnes, we thank you for coming to our show. And as we always say, drop the beat, another banger.
Unlimited, 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 unlimited.